Welcome everybody to the 5th annual TrueSongs and to our first year here at Spa Little Theater. This is an annual event that is produced by Caffe Lena as a way of bringing to the stage the powerful but invisible stories that are playing out all around us all the time. For those of you who may not know Caffe Lena, it's a small but mighty music venue over on Phila Street. All right. Some of you have heard of it. Okay, good. It's been around since 1960, and like all of the organizations that we're going to be talking about tonight, it is a nonprofit organization. We are doing the show in Spa Little Theater because we outgrew Caffe Lena. We have about 350 people here tonight, 3 times as many as we could fit over there. Okay, so if I say the word bootstraps, you guys all know what I'm talking about. We're always told to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. This is a core part of our culture. We hear it from day one, how important it is to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And so one of the scariest things that you can do is take your hand off of that bootstrap and reach out and say, I cannot do this alone. And what you're going to hear tonight are the stories of when people had the courage to do that. And somebody from a nonprofit organization took that hand and said, we're here with you. We can get this done together. There are hundreds of hardworking, passionate, talented, devoted nonprofit organizations working quietly all around us all the time. They are doing it simply because it feels good to help, because no matter what we're told about the divisions, the rough spots that we're going through right now, when push comes to shove, people love to help each other, no matter what their differences might be outside of that moment when the help is needed. So that's one part of TrueSongs. That's the true story part of TrueSongs. The other part is the songs. As we go through the night, I want you to take note of how your feelings change when you hear these stories. When we go from the storytelling part to the song part, there's a lot of science that's documented the physical and the cognitive effects of melody and instruments on human beings. It seems that music is just a very important part of what the human animal is. And I want you to see if when you hear the melody and you hear the instruments helping to amplify that story and take you into the heart of it, see if you don't go from caring to compassion to empathy and get to a place of healing and connection. So before we get underway, I want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors. We had a dream of turning TrueSongs into something that's not just a show that happens at Caffe Lena, but that could really be a signature event for Saratoga, where Saratoga could experience its own story in a different way. And so that's why we went to Business for Good, and we asked them to give us 3 years of sponsorship so that we could grow this, so that we could fill up this theater. Well, we're already at our goal for year 2, and this is year 1, so we're doing pretty good, and we really thank Business for Good for helping us with that. And then also, we really wanted to document this and create a good recording and a good video of it. So we have a crew here that's helping us to document it. We'll edit it, and then we'll make this available to everybody to watch and share with friends outside the area. And we're able to do that because of a generous gift from Carl and Terry DeBrule. So we thank them for their help with that. Okay, so let's get the show underway.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here and supporting the organizations and Caffe Lena. Like Sarah was saying, Rebuilding Together Saratoga County helps with critical home repair and accessibility modifications for individual homeowners living in Saratoga, Warren, and Washington counties, helping families in poverty, individuals with disabilities, seniors, and veterans stay in their home longer. So examples could be fixing the hole in the roof, fixing the hole in your flooring, and giving them accessible ramps into their home so they can stay there longer. Thank you again so much for your appreciation tonight.
Good afternoon, good evening. We've been here all day, so whatever it is, there's donuts in the car for breakfast. This is my husband, Don, who is the support of my life. And I would not have made it this far if it hadn't been for him. And I certainly wouldn't have made it if it hadn't been rebuilding Saratoga. I was sick, I was working. I had a private practice, and the next thing I knew, I was in the hospital for 2 months. I was told that this program that Clarice has introduced us to could solve a lot of problems, like me not fitting in a bathroom door, or not being able to go outside, not being able to reach the faucet. It gets hard. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll get a hold of them. Now I won't get a hold of them. I'm not going to get a hold of them. I cried. I refused to call. I said, baloney, nobody does anything like that for people. So I got gutsy, and I called Clarice just to find out. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in the car crying, and she's right outside, in the rain, by the way, with an umbrella, with all these papers for me to sign. And she was so beautiful. And mine is the compassion part, because she knew what the pain was I was feeling. She was very, very on tune. She knew. And she made me realize that it wasn't the end of the world. Did I mention I hate my chair? Just thought I'd throw that. But what really came about was when all these guys came to the house to do work. I mean, there were fathers that had retired that were troopers. There were their sons that were troopers working. There were other gentlemen there just helping, and it was so great. And they were fun. And they came into the house, and the next thing I know, my bathroom didn't have a door. But they moved the door, and they put in a new bathroom, things that we really never expected. There was a new floor put down. And electrical, our house was built in 1840, and electricity was probably new to some of the rooms, but they put it in, and they did for us. And then I said, I had the nerve, but I called them back and asked them if they'd please lower the counter. And I thought that I would be able to, well, let's just put it this way. My aide is short, so it was a good move. I just can't, not yet. I'm working on it, but it's hard for me, the strength in my arms. And I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And sometimes I get mad and don't. But I couldn't have any of that. None of the feelings that you experience when you're in a place that you can't get up, you can't get out. I can't do my own hair, I can't do this. Well, you need a mirror down. That's right. Well, we'll put this mirror down here. Can you see that all right? Yeah, I can see in there. This person cared. And I can truthfully say he cared, but not as much as my husband did. He's my goal. He's my life. We make it together, and with Rebuilding Saratoga. And you know, they can't do it, you know, they can't always run on grants. And you know, if you need wood or something for a job, you know, that costs money. I mean, you know that. And I'm not here to beg for money and to beg for help. But here is an incident, and I'm sure it's okay to tell. About 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now maybe, our next door neighbor came over and said, "How did you get all that help? Who is doing that help?" So I told them that we had applied and we received our grant and stuff. "Oh, now what's the name of that place?" His son-in-law is crippled and in a wheelchair for life. And he has lived in on a house with an upstairs with his wife. He's crawled every night up the stairs on his knees. This guy he hunts, he does all sorts of stuff. But this was his thing. Guess what? From what I hear, he has a lift. They put him in a chairlift. Yeah, you have to qualify for it. But I'm telling you, in this day and age, there's not many people that couldn't qualify for it. I just want you to know that we are doing okay with the grace of God and Rebuilding Saratoga. And if you can and you find it in your heart, you know, that young man, we suggested they call. You can do that. Anybody can. And I was not the bravest about calling. I was embarrassed. I don't need help. We always gave to other people. They didn't give to us. You know, we did different things. And we went down to New Orleans when Katrina hit. And I went down as a therapist, and Don went down as the Iceman. It was like 110 degrees, and he's in an ice truck passing out ice. That's okay. He had a nice trip. So, but anyway, I just want you to know that they're a beautiful, loving group of people, that their goal in life is to help. Bless you. Thank you.
Somebody taller than me was up here recently. I'm Joe Jenks. How nice to meet all of you. And I have to tell you what an extraordinary privilege it has been to be a part of the TrueSongs project. And in this case, get to know the work of Rebuilding Together Saratoga County and get to know Ellen and Don Reed. It's a real privilege to tell a piece of their story.
We were 16 and 20 like a poet's rhyme. We fell in love, it was only time till we were married and chasing our own truth. Took our honeymoon with with the U-Haul in tow. Across the country, what did we know? Enough to see that love would guide us through. Raised 5 great kids in these 4 walls. Lost one son, gave every day our all. Always put one foot in front of the other. Now the kids are grown and living their lives. Grandkids come and you don't realize how fast the years roll one into another. We're gonna fix the roof, stop the leaks, build a ramp, replace the sink, restore what has been broken, try to make it whole. We're gonna make more room, make more time, renew our purpose, renew our pride, rebuilding together. We're gonna make this house a home. The girls went to college, then we did too. Adults in school, but you should love what you do. Studied art and social work and psychology. Volunteered down south when the hurricanes hit. The work gets done if we all do a bit. Living lives of service, no regrets, no apologies. Now 60 years since we were wed. A little bit of faith and a lot of prayer said. Giving everything we have to make things right. Find a way to see the joy in each day. Bring a sense of adventure along the way. We always said, so what if the money's tight? We're gonna fix the roof, stop the leaks, build a ramp, replace the sink, restore what has been broken, try to make it whole. We're gonna make more room, make more time, renew our purpose, renew our pride, rebuilding together. We're gonna make this house a home. You go through life and do your part, hustle and mind and a great big heart. You lend a hand when you see someone in need. Friends and family, you do your best. Give back to others, it's not a test. It's just the way you plant the seeds you hope will grow. And in the end, we all reap what we sow. Never thought that we would be the ones who needed help, that we would be undone by the way that trouble sometimes picks up steam. But then people showed up for the heavy lift. Put it back together, honey, what a gift. Lean into the kindness, this is not a dream. We're gonna fix the roof, stop the leaks, build a ramp, replace the sink, restore what has been broken, try to make it whole. We're gonna make more room, make more time, renew our purpose, renew our pride, rebuilding together. We're gonna make this house a home. We're gonna fix the roof, stop the leaks, build a ramp, replace the sink, restore what has been broken, try to make it whole. We're gonna make more room, make more time, renew our purpose, renew our pride, rebuilding together. Gonna make this house a home. Rebuilding together. We're gonna make this house a home. Make this house a home.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. And a special thank you to Caffe Lena. This is truly an amazing event. This is the first time that Wade House has participated in, and very grateful. For those of you who don't know about Wade House, we are a runaway and homeless youth coalition who run an emergency crisis shelter in Glens Falls, New York. We work with primarily adolescents in transition, ages 16 to 24. We have a transitional living program, which is primarily parenting pregnant teens. We offer life skills classes, parenting classes, case management services, care management services. We have a family opportunity center, which really focuses on the family structure, working to build support for when the youth leave our shelter programs, that they have that support following their departure. So we offer youth peer support services, family peer support services, housing assistance, and we do anti-human trafficking work and street outreach work as well. We've been in the community for 21 years now. We collaborate with many agencies in Warren, Washington, and Saratoga County. We are a member of the Saratoga North Country Continuum of Care, which works together to really combat homelessness on every level. For Wade House, our focus is youth, and tonight we're going to hear a story from Gloria, who I couldn't be more proud of. The resilience these young people show every day is just truly amazing. You know, every day we leave work and we hear these amazing stories of growth and determination and building independence. And the goal is really to support the youth. The youth do all the work. You know, we come to work every day and we want to listen to what the youth need and develop a plan to help them move forward in their lives, to live self-directed and purposeful lives. And this is such a great example that Gloria is going to share her story, and I'm, again, just so proud of her and the work that she's done for herself. It's just truly amazing. You know, I don't consider my job as a job. This is certainly a calling. And the people that we work with in our communities are truly warriors. They get up every morning and they help combat youth homelessness, anti-trafficking. And when I talk about, you know, trafficking, when we were tabling out front, so many people come and they're like, that doesn't happen here. It absolutely happens here. It's very significant, as a matter of fact. But for tonight, we really want to celebrate Gloria and the work that she's done to overcome the obstacles in her life. And I don't want to tell too much because it's Gloria's story, of course, but I'm just so proud of her. And Gloria now works for the Wade House as well. So what an amazing gift and truly an amazing story. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for the sponsors who've put on this event and for our amazing songwriter here. Just a truly, truly amazing song that's been created. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for tonight. And it just happens to fall on Youth Homeless Awareness Month, so very proud of that as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You wouldn't guess, looking at me now, that at 6 years old, my mom dead and my dad in jail, I left the country where I was born and traveled to the United States to live with my grandparents. Now, I'm about to graduate from nursing school. I have a full-time job lined up, and I'm the proud mom of 2 little ones. Tonight, I'd like to tell you about some of my journey and the people who have helped me along the way. But first, I would like to start off with this. Bob Marley once sang, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." I remember the first time I listened to this song, Redemption Song, a song about breaking free from false perceptions. I'll never forget how much I cried that day. Never did I think connecting to a song about essentially slavery would comfort me or impact me in such a deep way. Growing up, you could say that is exactly how I felt, like a slave, physically and mentally. For as long as I could remember, my life was filled with anxiety and fear. growing up in a household where freedom of speech would only lend you physical and verbal punishment. I have always been in survival mode. Growing up in a third world country and going days without any food really is where my spark began to grow. Life back then was bliss, but I had no idea that these struggles would soon take a turn. And truly, it wasn't until my dad killed my mom that things really started to change for me and my sister. That experience awoke something in me that day, the day where I heard my mother scream my name and beg me for help. I have flashbacks as I tell you my story, and frankly, I can still see the fear in that little girl's eyes. But once it was all over, I knew that I was in charge. It was as if I instantly knew to always watch my surroundings and to protect my sister and I. I had no time to process what had just happened. I just knew that my mom I just knew that my mom, my protector, and the person that I loved most was gone. And suddenly I could see things. Suddenly I became aware. Years later, I found myself in situations that reminded me of the night I lost my mom. Although my father was gone, a man whom I feared and gave me worry turned to family members that sexually, physically, and emotionally abused me. Most days, I found myself wishing I was dead. I had nowhere to run and no one whom I felt safe enough to share what was happening to me. So I turned to self-harm, and one day, at the age of 13 years old, decided that I no longer wanted to live. I thought this would be my way out, but this failed attempt at committing suicide turned into an epiphany that made an impact on who I am forever. So once again, things in my life took another turn, a common theme actually, as you'll soon see for yourself. But this time it occurred in the way in which I thought. Instead of an environmental or situational change, my thought process was impacted. Being admitted to Four Winds Mental Hospital made me see things differently. And although I could not speak my truth that day due to the fear that my family's threats inflicted on me, that feeling of being stuck turned to realizing that only I could be my way out. And soon after, I no longer seeked for someone to run to, and instead, I turned to myself. The day I was released from Four Winds, I made a pact with myself. I decided to endure the abuse for as long as I had to, and for the next 5 years, that is exactly what I did. The road to a better life was not easy, and it wasn't planned either, but somehow I've always had the ability to see beyond the mess I was given. 13-year-old me knew that there had to be a way out. And with my high acuity and awareness, and also with the counseling of a middle school advisor, I realized if I wanted a chance at something better, I'd have to do it by what some would call chasing the American dream. So I buckled down and focused on school. And I struggled along the way, but I always found a way to get through the challenges that faced me. On top of that, it was my way out at the time. I could be gone all day and forget about the miserable home life I had. School motivated me, and it was the influence that I needed. I can't remember exactly how, but somewhere along the way, midway through high school, I began to take interest in the medical field. specifically nursing. And it just so happened that the same middle school advisor had transferred to my high school and ended up being my advisor again. I like to think it was fate when I look back into my journey. This lady was there for me like no one could imagine. She helped me set foot in the nursing field by helping me get into the BOCES Patient Care Technician program. And ever since then, I have always been set on becoming a registered nurse. Despite the traumatic past that follows me, there always has been an immense amount of compassion within me. That I could say. Something that a lot of my grade school peers and professors did not know about me at the time was that all throughout these experiences, I was going home and getting physically assaulted by my grandparents and aunt and uncle. I was going home and being sexually assaulted by the same exact people who were supposed to care for me after my mother's death. I mean, what else would maternal family members do after such a great loss, right? So this was my life. I battled anxiety and depression for as long as I could remember. I remember being a little girl and dreading the end of the day because I knew what was waiting for me once I got home. But what my family members didn't realize was that someday I'd grow up and think for myself. And those days started way before they could even realize I knew better. So what happened after that? I started fighting back. I began to defend myself against the slaps, against the kicks, against the inappropriate handling at night. I began to find my voice, just barely, but I finally stopped being afraid. I was proud of myself, and it felt good to finally speak up. And as you would expect, things couldn't have gone worse for me. Half a year before graduating high school in BOCES, my grandparents gave me what I call my going away beating and cursed me with words that I won't be repeating tonight before doing something that turned out to be an answered prayer in disguise. They kicked me out of the house, and although there wasn't a plan, nothing compared to the trauma I was enduring there. I specifically remember taking a cab to my boyfriend's house and ended up staying with him for a while. While being there, I did graduate from both high school and BOCES, attempted community college, but completely failed due to the mental strain my environment was causing me. So for about a year or so, my dream of becoming a nurse became distant. And to be frank, things were not going the direction I'd hoped for. See, the thing about growing up in abuse is that you don't realize when you're repeating the same toxic cycles when you're older. And that is exactly what I was doing. I ended up falling into an abusive relationship that only led me to even more depression and anxiety, homelessness, and this time, even trouble with the law. I remember having to resort to theft in order to meet my basic needs for a long time. And it wasn't until I got a letter in the mail that I had to appear in court that reality hit me. It wasn't until then that I started to think about the life choices I had been making up to that point. For a quick second, I stopped to ponder on the dreams and goals that I once planned for when I was a kid. And so as you can see, many times I've fallen down, but what has been a constant pattern in my life is that each time, I've always gotten back up. I've always had the ability to recognize and decipher between right and wrong. And despite always feeling alone and feeling like I had nobody to run to, thankfully there's always been at least one person who came along and gave me answers exactly when I've needed them. And Brenda Esquivel was that person for me once again in 2018. That same lady I've been mentioning from middle school and high school. For some odd reason, she'd always seen that there was something more that was there for me. And so when she found out about my situation, she told me about SUNY at Around Deck and their nursing program. And I knew immediately that I wanted to apply. Reconnecting with her once again felt like fate. And so a month later, I found myself being driven by an ex-boyfriend's mother to a new beginning in upstate New York. I grew up in the downstate area, somewhere about 3 hours from where I live now. So coming up here was my fresh start. And although I was still homeless but dorming at the college, I was happy. I was happy because I was finally heading back towards the direction I intended to follow the moment I left my grandmother's house. College life was another hurdle in itself. From learning to be self-sufficient and disciplined to learning to be independent, I still struggled greatly getting through my classes. I had no idea what I was doing, carrying so much baggage from so many years and being in a new environment trying to still survive. And the fact that I once again had gotten involved with someone who was no good for me didn't help either. I ended up pregnant in the third semester of taking my prereqs for the nursing program. I was still dorming at the time and continued going to classes up until I couldn't anymore. But one thing about me, I grew up in chaos, so I handled all these things pretty well. And I cannot take all the credit myself because when it came down to leave the dorms, nowhere to go, once again I was looked out for by someone who I will refer to today as a college advisor. But really, she was involved in a special program for someone that assisted specific individuals pursuing a degree in the healthcare field. This woman not only helped me out throughout my journey to enter the nursing program, but also got me connected with the organization known as the White House. So from the college dorms, I came to the transitional living program provided by the White House, took a semester off from college with the intention to continue after giving birth, and got my life together. White House helped me get a roof over my head for me and my daughters, and shortly after giving birth, I was accepted into the nursing program and have accomplished so much with the assistance of people and organizations that I have no idea how much they've truly impacted my life. Sometimes I wish that it all had happened a better way, but I don't think I would have gained all the knowledge and wisdom I know today without all the mistakes I made to get as far as I've come. And so tonight, I would like to give the White House and all of its supporters, Lauren Wickheiser, Michelle Foley from the Salvation Army, and Brenda Esquivel, a special thank you for being the support system I never had.
It's an honor to share the stage with this extraordinary human being. I saw too much too young, grew up angry, then grew numb. No place left to run, I felt trapped. Now I know I'm not the first to hurt myself and work, looking for the love I never had. When my family kicked me out, I landed on a boyfriend's couch. Now I'm raising babies on my own. For to love them and protect, I'll break out from this brokenness and find a way to climb out of this hole. Take this darkness, take this pain, make me the last link in this poison chain. No more abuse, I'm living through. If it's the last thing I do, you'll see it ends with me. Who believed there was something else for me. I think I know where I might be without their help. My daughters taught me everything. They make my spirit sing and keep me working on the best version of myself. Take this darkness, take this pain, make me the last link in this poison chain. No more abuse, I'm living proof it's the last thing I do, you'll see it ends with me. I wish I could show my mom just how far I've come. That's something that my girls won't have to say. No more darkness, no more pain. I'll be the last link in that poison chain. No more of you. I'm living through. If it's the last thing I do, you'll see. 'Cause it took a lifetime, but now I'm free, and it ends with me. It ends with me. Ooh.
Thank you so much. We'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. We really appreciate that and the chance to tell our story. And before we get started, was that not a powerful story? So Alliance 180 is a suicide prevention program that has been started for fellow veterans, first responders, and frontline healthcare workers. And along with my co-founder, Melody Squire, who's also here tonight, I just want to give you a brief overview of what we do. What we have discovered in working with over 1,000 fellow veterans is that post-traumatic stress is not really a mental health issue. It's physiological. And what I mean by that is any time a normal human being experiences trauma, whether it's war, sexual assault, on-the-job shooting, or a horrific accident, what actually can happen to that person is like an emotional circuit breaker pops in their nervous system. And it does that just like if lightning hits your house and the lights go out. Well, it was supposed to do that. It's a self-protection mechanism, but it leaves that individual on emergency generator. And after a while, that's not enough to live on, and people eventually take their life. So running this program, it includes horses, but the whole sole purpose is to trigger a re-regulation of the individual's autonomic nervous system, bringing it back into rhythm, and it's as if the lights come back on for them. Now, we've done this over 1,000 times, but tonight it's my honor to introduce Troy Huggard, who, as a matter of fact, is our first graduate of 1,000, and he went through the program in 2012. So with that, I'd like to say, Troy, thank you for coming and how courageous you are for stepping forward. Thank you.
Well, Bob said that I'm Troy. Nice to meet y'all. Tell you a little bit about myself. I didn't come from the greatest upbringing, but Not many some of us do, some of us don't, and that's one thing or another. But I knew growing up that I wanted to be in the military. I didn't know which part of the military, but I had a grandfather that was high up officer in the Air Force, uncles, Marines, and Navy. So I knew that that's what I needed. Then I made that decision and left home, 17, joined the Navy. I literally tiptoed out of the house one day, one morning, and left. And the Navy was the greatest thing to ever happen to me. I know a lot of people are like, wow, the military, but it was perfect. I woke up every morning knowing exactly what needed to be done throughout that day till I went to bed that night. Everything is there's no unknowns. And it was great. Everything is in nice little squares, and it just makes for an ease. In 1993, I suffered my first traumatic brain injury, and took me about a year to get back to what I would consider normal, and stayed in the military. I lived over in La Maddalena, Italy, pretty much my whole deployment, and beautiful, beautiful place if you ever get to go visit. And in 1999, I unfortunately suffered my second traumatic brain injury. And at that point in time, the Navy was like, yeah, you're done, appreciate it, and peace out. And unfortunately, that's kind of like how it is. It's just like, 1 minute you're in the military, now go home. I got it, I got out, I landed a really good job right away, so I think everything's okay. I don't realize that I'm kind of wired differently now, and I thought that I had friends around me, but really it was just people kind of living on the neat things that I had. I mean, I worked for Comcast, so I had free cable, internet, got all the fights. Everybody come to my house, drink my beer, yeah. But it turned out, though, when I would have my downtimes, where were those people? There was nobody. And I realized that I didn't have anybody where I was living at the time, so I decided to move home to Florida. And when I got home to Florida, talk about moving out of the frying pan and into the fryer, I met someone who I thought was going to be the right someone, and it wasn't. And then things really started to spiral out of control for me. It got to the point I woke up one morning and I decided today's the day when I kill myself. And I actually kept a Glock on my nightstand, so I just picked it up. As I swung my legs out over the bed, I could see my face in the mirror. And I was all unshaven, hair was all messed up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this right. I'm going to go get my hair cut at the barbershop. I'm going to come home, put on my dress uniform, and just straight up a few good men this, and just do it that way. And while I was at the barbershop, there was a person getting their hair cut, and the barber talking about this infantile, like this program. It's horses and veterans. It hasn't started yet. It's in upstate New York. It's called this. And so I ran home without even getting a haircut and Googled it. And it just basically was like, site under construction, call this number. Like, okay. But, in a couple of things that I didn't say is, in the time up until I made that phone call, I had lost my mother in 2007 to suicide. And then I lost a dear friend who was a Marine a couple months before I decided to suicide. And it just, you have to understand that it made sense to me to do that. Because if I do it, I don't hurt anymore. I don't have, you know, God, it's so dark when you don't feel good. And so I called the number, and Bob, who you met a little while ago, answered the phone and said, hey, listen, he asked me the Bob questions, and said, hey, listen, give me 15 minutes, don't do anything, and I'll call you right back. You know, so the only thing I have in my life right now is my word, so I gave it to him. And that's all he was getting. And he called me back and said that he purchased me a ticket to fly me from Orlando to New York. I don't know these people. On their dime, and they were going to take care of me. Like, what are you talking about? I've tried everything the VA gives out. And of course, listen, it's not on their dime a lot, but I don't want to knock it, but it's not a lot. You know, so, and that's, you know, one amazing thing is it wasn't on my dime, so it made it a whole lot easier for me to say, I'm on my way. I'm willing to try this, you know. You know, I told you I went to the VA. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I also been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD. And I always say this is a little joke because it's a new diagnosis of LMNOP. So, but don't get that last one. It's pretty tough. This is what I deal with. And I come up to this program. I met, you know, Melody was there, and there was, I have to tell you about this woman. Her name is Janelle. She was there as well. So these wonderful people are there, and they're making a fuss over me. They don't know me. And they provide me this program with this horse, and it's not petting, touchy-feely, or whatever, but they provided me with an experience that's unlike anything you could imagine. And everybody sees horses. You all have. But horses actually have a language, and you can talk to them. And this isn't a diagnosis, this is true stuff. And when you're taught some things during the day of what's going to happen, and then when you're actually going through the experience, like the whole thing is when I left the military, I couldn't trust anybody. Why trust anybody, you know? It wasn't there, and there was just no trust, no emotion, no nothing. And now I'm with this ginormous thoroughbred horse in a round pen, and we're supposed to trust each other and get out. Yeah, it happens. And, but, you know, the horse starts doing what he's supposed to do, and the stuff that Melody taught you, you start to see. And then you can respond, and the horse responds, and you're like, what? And then it happens again, and you're like, what? And it's happening. And then when it's time for like the trust, that connection to happen, and it happens. It's the best way I explain it is all the armor plates you wear in the military. You keep those on when you feel the way I felt, even if they're not on. But then all of a sudden I walk out of this round pen with this huge horse that just trusted me. And it's like all these armor plates just fell off and it hit the sand. And it was like I could take a deep breath. I could breathe I could always breathe, but not like this before. And then just, things got different. I went back down to Florida where it wasn't so great. But then all of a sudden people are calling me up like, hey, you need some work? You want to come do some work? And I became like, yeah, sure. And I'm running around because things are great now and I feel awesome. So how do I share this? What do I do? Oh my God. I show up on Bob's doorstep January in a t-shirt and shorts from Florida. How can I help? What can I do? How can I be a part of this? Because it's not fair that I feel this good and so many of my brothers and sisters don't. You can't imagine just how dark things can really get. And then, like Bob said, trauma happens just like that. You can be in that ring for 2-3 minutes, just like that. And it's just that switch. And since then, 2012, 2013, you remember I told you about that one lady, Janelle, that was part of the group. Her last name is Huggard now. I've graduated with honors from culinary school. My wife and I, before my wife, practically homeless. I'm with my wife now. We have a beautiful home, land, pets. My life has become so grand. I got great friends, the best neighbors in the world. My life has become so whole, all because I found this program and called that number. That's all I did. And my life got saved. And the only reason why I'm here telling you this tonight is because they saved my life. They gave me my life back, and they gave it back so unbelievably that it's so crazy, because I don't ever remember wanting to do the things that I do now, like, going out and being with my wife or doing fancy things. I was just such a homebody, and now I have a life. And just want to let you guys know that Alliance 180 is out there, and veterans, first responder, firemen, it's the most awesome program, obviously, that I could speak of. But I know that there's 1,000+ other veterans that went behind me that could come up here and would probably tell you the same thing I am verbatim. Man or woman, no matter the trauma. Thank you, Bob, Melody, and Janelle for saving my life. I love you.
It's longer on paper. My name is Ellis Paul, and I'm honored to be here. I got to spend about an hour and a half listening to the story that Troy told you in 10 minutes, and we were laughing and crying and laughing and crying, and I don't know how the hell I'm gonna get through this song. Thanks. I was just a Navy kid. That's when my family did. I was 18, packing up for boot camp in Desert Storm. Nobody could have warned me about all the trouble I'd see, taking fire on the Arabian Sea with no place to dock, a coffin for a locker, taking shots from stern to keel, bullets piercing American steel. It got dark, it got dark, it went dark. Back home they told me I had PTSD. They used the alphabet when describing me. I said, goodbye world, I'm gonna set myself free. And I put a gun right up to my mouth. My whole world was headed south. Oh, it got dark. It got dark. And I said to myself, are you gonna do this tonight? Go get a haircut, go get your navy whites, officer and gentleman style. Set the scene right, so I stumbled down to the barber shop. I felt like I was dream walking. I overheard two strangers talking. One of them said, what could a horse do? What could a horse undo? How's a pony gonna carry me through something every psychologist has failed to do? What could a horse do? What could a horse do? So I looked him up, called up Alliance on the phone. A man named Bobby made me feel less alone. I said, I've looked everywhere. I have flipped every stone. I feel like I've lost everything. And he sounded like he had wings. He said, we're gonna fly you up to Saratoga Springs. What could a horse do? What could a horse undo? Something every single psychologist failed to do. What could a horse do? What could a horse do? So I stood inside this little round pen. They let a 1,500-pound horse ride in. His name was Whiskey. More of a warrior than I'd ever been, but he was scared, and I was holding him tight. There was no room for the trouble in our life. And in that ring, with Whiskey and me, our hearts, they beat in some kind of synchronicity, and I trusted him. And he came to trust me. We were two warriors out on the man, starting all over again, building trust like two old friends. And there was light, there was light, there was What could a horse do? What could a horse undo? How's a pony gonna carry me through something every psychologist had failed to do? What could a horse do? What could a horse do? What could a horse do?
Okay, everybody, thank you. Thank you for staying and for listening and for caring and for being willing to learn more about what these organizations are dealing with day in and day out. As you heard, every one of these stories could be amplified 1,000 times, and these stories are going on all around us, and they're invisible to us, and it changes how we feel about the crowd that we're walking through when we know what's below the surface. So thank you for caring.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Tri-County Literacy Center is a grassroots organization that's based out of Crandall Library in Glens Falls. Our mission is very simple. We help adults who live in Warren, Washington, and Saratoga County improve their literacy skills. For us, those individuals can fall into one of 4 categories. People who have 0 level literacy skills, meaning they don't know their numbers, they don't know the alphabet, can't read, write, up to individuals with a 5th grade level of skills. Once somebody has 5th grade skill levels, then we can help them on with the next step, which is either acquiring a high school equivalency diploma or finishing some type of job training, whether it be CDL training, anything that will help them obtain some type of economic goal. The 3rd category is individuals who need to learn English as their new language. And then the last group is anyone who is studying to pass the U.S. citizenship exam. And we're able to do all of those services because of the amazing volunteers that come to us. These are people who don't have any type of background in teaching or tutoring of any type. They take training to learn how to do what they do, but they all have one thing in common. They're amazing, they have huge hearts, and they truly believe that one person can make an impact and can really make a difference in somebody's life. So tonight we have one of our teams with us. Leanne has made a huge impact, not just in her learner's life, but in her learner's family's life. And that's really the way that it works. It's a team, and it's the families coming together and really making a difference in our community.
When I came to the United States, it was more than a just plane trip. I was a Brazilian trying to survive in a strange foreign land. What was especially hard for me was that I was passing from one responsibility to another. From the care of my daughter Eduarda in Brazil to the care of my daughter Ana Paula in the US. My husband and my daughter Ana Paula came to the US before me. I stayed in Brazil to take care of Eduardo. At the time, couldn't come to the US because she was in her 2nd year of college. She had gotten a scholarship at the Federal University of São Paulo. She fought hard for this scholarship, so I stayed with her. My husband is smart. In Brazil, he earned a degree in industrial mechatronics technology and worked in the pharmaceutical industry, but we struggled financially. So he came to the US with Ana Paula. When he arrived here, he couldn't speak a word of English. He had to take manual jobs, working long, hard hours as a handman, barely sleeping. He was depressed, but he kept working hard. We were so excited to have Ana come to the US to learn from the excellent teachers at the school here and make a better life for herself. She understood just a little bit of English, but she quickly learned more English on her own. Then we found out that she was being bullied in the school. The physical education teacher was explaining something about how the class would work. My daughter was only 14 and couldn't quite understand, and the teasing began. 2 girls in the school wouldn't leave Ana alone. They swore at her and called her names. When Ana called me, she cried on the phone. I felt helpless on the other side of the world. My daughter Eduarda needed to stay in her college in Brazil, but Ana was being bullied here. So, in desperation, I made the decision to come to the United States. This decision was very difficult for me, and it still is today. At the same time that I needed to support Ana, I had to leave Eduarda alone in Brazil. I had to choose between one daughter and other. That's why I cry and I talk about it. My heart bleeds every time I think about it. When I came here, I knew no one inside of my family. It's the worst experience anyone can have. When I arrived here, it was as if I were mute and deaf. I could hear, but I didn't understand. I tried to speak. It was like I was in a nightmare, like you open your mouth, but your voice doesn't come out. I felt like a baby learning to talk. Learning English was hard, and harder still because I was thinking and worried so much about my family and all that we were going through. And I'm shy, and sometimes prefer not to speak. I tried to learn by mostly listening. But I didn't give up. An inner voice told me, "You are stronger than you know." Sometimes I pretend to be fine, while my soul would scream in English. But I told myself, don't have a time for this, and I got to work. Sometimes I touch my daughter's hair, and it reminds me to be strong. I tell myself not to look back, to keep moving. Then I met Leanne and Roseanne at Tri-County Literacy, and Leanne began to coach me. Leanne told me that she loves to read and wanted to help people learn to read because she has always wanted to give back and that she sees the ability to read as the key to a better life. She found that she loves teaching me. She said that working on literacy empowers her to fight for a positive change, to fight against the terrible things that are being said about immigrants like me. More than that, Leanne told me it was a privilege to work with me, that it made her stronger too. As we started work together, and she started teaching me English, she offered to help me in other ways. She helped me work out some issues Ana was having in a college. We begin to see each other out of class. Leanne has been so much more than just a teacher. She has been a good friend. Learning was much easier because she was talking to me as a friend, and we've been sharing experience outside of our lessons. Leanne is the best person I've met in this place. She's incredible, patient, dedicated, and everything good you can imagine is her. If I were to say everything I think about her, I wouldn't have enough words to describe how much I admire her. Leanne appeared in my life like a light at the end of the tunnel. Every day I thought about how I was going to find a way to learn this no English. But she came in my life and showed me that it wasn't as difficult as it seemed. The way she explained the patience and the kindness in making me understand. With that, I was leaving my shiny side and feeling more confident with each class. Now, I work hard all day at my job and then come home and spend time in a class with Leanne and doing my homework. I remember the day I was working and my phone rang. I saw that it was from my daughter's college. At first, I felt insecure about answering the phone, but at the same time, I was worrying because I thought it could be something serious, so I answered. I didn't understand anything, much to my despair. So I explained to the woman that I was learning English and asked if she could speak a little slower. She understood and kindly did so. To my surprise, I able to talk to her. That day was the day I realized how much the classes are having an effect on my life. Recently for homework, Leanne told me I was to use only English for 1 hour each week. I spoke English on my job and talked in English to one of my neighbors. This was a huge breakthrough, and when I told Leanne, we celebrate together. My husband is doing better now, and Anna is doing well in college, and is no longer bullied, and I'm much happier too. Leanne shares something that Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead would be very proud of Leanne.
It's been such an honor to work with Marcia and Leanne and to be a part of this program. Something that I really learned through this is, we don't have to go it alone when we're going through hard times. And we're actually so much stronger when we ask for help and support one another. So thank you so much, Marcia. The song is for you. Like a flower that just can't bloom.
far from home.
You don't have to go it alone.
Go alone.
Step by step and day by day, you will find words to say, words to say.
Since they're still setting up here, I'm going to take just a moment to say that TrueSongs came out of another program that we do that doesn't have a very big public face called Caffe Lena on the Road. And that's where we have folks like Ellis Paul and Mark Arelli and Joe Jenks and Carolyn, people who are on tour and playing headline performances at Caffe Lena, go out into the community and work with these kinds of nonprofit organizations, making private performances in their spaces. Like it could be, for example, an addiction recovery group, and it could be an artist who has faced that issue themselves, and maybe they found their way out of addiction through playing music, and they're able to sit down in a circle and share that story and play songs that have particular meaning for those people. And we've seen over and over again these really powerful connections that form. For the musicians, it's such an uplifting opportunity for them to be able to do that kind of work when they're out on tour. Instead of just doing their regular show, getting set up on the stage and doing the same thing every night, they get to step out and really reconnect with the whole purpose in doing their music. And for the people in these community settings, lots of times it's people who would really never be able to just get out and buy tickets for an evening performance and enjoy music like that. So this is kind of a capstone of that work that goes on year round. And we're now working with about 36 different nonprofits in Warren, Washington, and Saratoga counties. And I can tell you that the only thing holding us back from doing even more is just money. So we raise as much as we can for this program. We do as many shows as we can. We probably reach about 2,000 people a year, but the hunger for this is bottomless. So thanks for considering that. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. This has just been an incredible night to be a part of, and I'm so proud and humbled to be here. So my name is Gwen. I'm a social worker. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association. We are the leading voluntary health organization in Alzheimer's care, support, and research. Our mission is to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other forms of dementia. Our local chapters across the nation provide care and support programs within their communities. Together, we offer more than 4,500 support groups in person and connect thousands of people across the globe through ALS Connected, our online community. We deliver 20,000 education programs annually and offer print educational resources in over 17 languages. In addition to our care and support programs, we accelerate research. We also advocate on the state and federal levels to increase policies that support families who are facing Alzheimer's and the other forms of dementia. We couldn't do this work without amazing volunteers like Jody Dater, who, firsthand have experienced this disease and are willing to help others and be the light, in this dark disease. So without further ado, Jody.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you for allowing me to share my mom with you. My story is about a journey that I was lucky enough to take with my mom, and it's a story about always trying to find the light in the darkness. Our story begins with a phone call from my mom, really upset, saying, "I don't remember how to use the remote. I can't get it to use or do anything, and I think something's wrong." So we made an appointment with our family doctor, and he performed something called the Folstein test, which measures cognitive impairment. So with my mom showing signs of dementia, he recommended that we go see a neurologist and have brain scans done. So we went and did that, and a couple weeks later, we went together to get the results. And we were put into this small, white, sterile room. And the doctor came in, and without much empathy or sympathy or really any bedside manner, said, "Your test came back, you have Alzheimer's, and I recommend you see a neurologist that specializes in Alzheimer's and dementia." My mom was absolutely stoic and strong in that moment, and I was astonished. But we stood up and we walked out of the door and turned the corner, and my mom's legs went out from underneath her, and my heart broke for her. The weight of the diagnosis in that moment was just too much to bear, and so was my realization that love couldn't solve everything. So later that year as a family, we all realized that my mom was struggling with everyday tasks, forgetting to take medications, not eating properly, faltering with her bills. Once I knew my mom needed someone to be there, every part of my mind, body, and soul wanted to be there for her. So I quit my job, left my apartment and friends, and I moved back home. Well, this was a lot of change in my life for my mom, having her grown daughter moving back home and interrupting her daily life. It was even more of an adjustment for her. Two women who've been running their own households by themselves for years in the same house. That came with many challenges. I can't tell you how many times my mom said to me, "I don't need any help. I've been doing this for years. I don't need your help." And I would always tell her, "Mom, you're an amazing woman, and you taught me how to load the dishwasher and clean the counters, and you taught me to help others, so now I get to help you." And sometimes that worked, and she would let me help, and sometimes I was banished to the couch with Margaret, her cat. Change is hard, and it was a new way of life for both of us. And it took some time, but we eventually settled into a pretty good routine. We did almost everything together, cleaning, cooking, laundry, daily walks, bills, and anything else that needed to be done. Alzheimer's is sometimes referred to as the longest goodbye, mainly because between diagnosis and death, this disease slowly takes away the person's identity, their memory, and even the basic skills to perform the simplest of tasks. And eventually, it even takes their ability to have a conversation. Watching my mom leave me a little at a time was devastating. But I also realized throughout this time that Alzheimer's was giving my mom blessings. For years, my mom was terrified of dogs, but she forgot that. So she happily kissed the Mastiff down the road on the nose and proceeded to pet every dog we came across on our daily walks. She was also not one to enjoy being outside very much because that's where the bugs live. But anytime I asked her to come on small hikes with me, she would gladly join. My mom wasn't the artsy type, but anytime I approached her with a handful of craft supplies and a smile, she gladly obliged. We painted rainbows for the 518 Rainbow Hunt. We made wreaths and Christmas ornaments for the neighbors and even painted pottery. My entire life, I watched my mom be concerned about how others felt about her. Alzheimer's took away those fears. She let me dress both of us in blow-up costumes and walk around the neighborhood and entertain the kids. Hers looked like she was riding on a dinosaur, and mine looked like I was riding on an elephant. We had a glow-in-the-dark dance party. A family member ended up posting, and it went viral, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed coming and telling my mom every day how many likes we got and reading her the great comments that people wrote. We visited local farms for baby animal days, and we went rock mining, and Mom even petted the stingrays at the aquarium. And when given the choice between a hayride or a horseback ride, my mom fearlessly chose the horse. Eventually, numbers became very hard for my mom. This particular challenge gave us some absolutely hysterical game times. Mom skipped spaces, jumped corners, and even kidnapped other players' pieces. And of course, she always made the rules. Having trouble with numbers also resulted in some other funny things, like when she blew up eggs in the microwave when she put them in for 37 minutes. And of course, because she couldn't tell time anymore for my mom, it was always time for ice cream. So I could spend the entire night sharing all the incredible, joyful memories this disease gave to my mom and me, but there were really tough times too. Eventually, Alzheimer's took away my mom's ability to walk and to communicate. She was incontinent and slept most of the day. Hospice was eventually called, and our living room became a makeshift hospital room. We placed her bed in front of the window so my mom could see the world outside. She watched the neighbors on their walks and the kids playing in the street. In time, my mom forgot how to chew and even eventually how to swallow, and we knew the end was near. We kept her as comfortable as possible, and the family and I spent every waking moment we could being next to her. My mom passed away on August 2nd, 2022 at 3:02 in the morning. I spent the next hour bathing my mom's body. I washed her hair, I curled her hair, I changed her clothes, and I even covered her in her favorite Shalimar perfume. My mom always wanted to be presentable, so even if it was the funeral home coming to pick her up, this was the last gift I could give to her. My grief in that moment was immeasurable, but so was my sense of relief. She was no longer suffering, and my caring for her was done. These feelings got all mixed up with guilt and remorse. Guilty for feeling the relief, and remorse for all the times caregiving wasn't perfect. The time I raised my voice, or said something in frustration, or even lost my temper. I had to learn to accept these feelings and remember that I did the best that I could with what we were given. Some people think that grief is something that you get through, but I've come to realize that it's something that becomes a part of you. Grief is the price of love, and boy, did I love my mom. After my mom passed, it took about 4 months for me to even feel human again. 4 months of sleeping a lot, learning to care for myself again, getting counseling, and getting back to spending time with family and friends. In the months after she passed, I knew I needed to be active in my grief. I put up an Alzheimer's tree at the Schenectady Historical Society in honor of my mom. The tree was covered in purple lights and purple ornaments, and I put educational Alzheimer's pamphlets under the tree in hopes of helping others. I also had an ornament hung on the Christmas hospice tree that year, and her name was read at their Christmas ceremony. It was also very important to me that I continue the traditions that my mom had started. Making Christmas treats for all the neighbors, we baked for our local bank, her financial advisor, and even all of our local restaurants. My mom left an imprint of light and love on anyone she came in contact with, and it was beautiful. In January of 2023, feeling a little human again, I got in my car and drove to the Alzheimer's Association and walked in and asked what I could do to help. They went over several options for volunteering, and I decided to sign up to run caregiver support groups. These groups have been an integral part of helping me through my grieving process. I get to share the knowledge I gained on my caregiving journey with others, and I also get to emotionally help others with the many feelings that you go through when caring for someone with dementia. I feel truly lucky to be even a small part of the Alzheimer's Association. This disease took away the most important person in my life, my mom. The loss was immeasurable and extremely hard, but I can honestly stand here today and tell you that I gained so much on this journey. I got 3.5 years of spending every single day with my mom. I got to know her as an adult. I learned how my mom affected everyone she came in contact with and the imprint that she left on others. I gained a level of patience I never knew I had. I also gained an incredible amount of knowledge, not only about Alzheimer's and dementia, but about legal and financial issues, medication treatment, and eventually even end-of-life care. But the biggest lesson learned through all of this was frame of mind. I could choose to see the bad, or I could choose to find even the smallest amount of good on even the toughest days. I learned to find the light walking along a path of darkness. So I will leave you with a piece of advice that my grandfather shared with me when I was a young girl, that even a pile of shit can be warm on a cold day. It's all about perspective.
This song is for Barbara.
Oh, the weight of diagnosis in a cool fluorescent room. How life rearranged around us at the start of losing you. We were trading roles and starting over. Some nights you were scared to sleep, but for every fading layer there was a blessing underneath. Blowing up the eggs in the microwave, holding out your hand to a stingray, casting off the weight of what people might say. You were so unafraid, and I relearned you from different angles. In the last lie, you were just as beautiful. I'm in pieces, but somehow thankful for the longest goodbye. We sing You Are My Sunshine and Tennessee whiskey. Going in the dark, we were dancing freely till we moved the bed by the window in the living room. And when you took your final breath in the stillness there, I knew that hour was my last parting gift to you. Bathe you in my love and Shalimar perfume. It was the privilege of a lifetime to care for you. In those final days I relearned you from different angles. In the last lie, you were just as beautiful. I'm in pieces, but somehow thankful for the longest goodbye. And they say grief is the price of love, and your love wrapped itself around everyone. Home away from home at the Glenville Queen. No such thing as strangers in the life you lead. Every single person in your world cried when they heard you were gone. I relearned you from different angles. In the last light, when it was more than I could handle, I was in pieces, but somehow thankful for the longest goodbye. And now when someone hurting asks me how to make it through, I tell them, let it change you.
Okay, everybody okay? Oh my gosh. Okay. A couple things before we get to our final performance of the evening. So one thing is, for those of you who are sitting there reading your program, you might notice that there's a very strange description of the Tri-County Literacy Center, describing it as a park that's open 365 days a year. That's an artifact from one of last year's participants, Hudson Crossing Park. I apologize for that. I think you know what Tri-County Literacy Center is now. I also want to say, so after this final performance, I have asked the 6 directors of the organizations that are here tonight to come up on stage and just briefly tell you one thing that you can do to help their work. So if you're in the audience, directors, report backstage, please. And I'm also going to want everybody who has participated tonight to take a bow, so head backstage. Thank you.
Just think you gave up a night of watching some inane Netflix movie to come and open your hearts to the full range of human experience. How crazy are you? First, I want to say thank you to Caffe Lena for this amazing opportunity to share our story with this beautiful crowd. And I want to thank everyone who made it possible, especially Judy and Janine. The history of planet Earth is a history of migration, whether it's animal or human. It's written in paw prints and footprints of creatures leaving one hostile environment for another, hopefully more hospitable one. Migration is the instinctual reaction to a threat, whether natural or man-made, a change in climate, environmental, political, or economic. Throughout time, migration has made the difference between survival and extinction. It frames the moment when parents look at their children and decide to leave everything behind that they knew and loved and embark upon a journey filled with uncertainty and fraught with danger. Capital District Latinos offers a way station on the journey of thousands of such migrants, fleeing violence, deprivation, and in many cases, certain death. Our center stands in one of the city of Albany's poorest neighborhoods. We offer some of the basics to new arrivals and much more. Food and clothing for the body, art and music for the soul, mental health and learning for the mind, and art and culture. One of the migrants we helped was my friend and colleague, Leanne. And tonight you will hear her story. but I want to add one thing to her tale that she might not know. And that is, Janet, you are an inspiration to me and to many others. Tu vida me inspira. I will share with all of you, dear people, as we sit here tonight and hold space for the joy and pain of the human experience, that I am deeply worried about the season that approaches. And if it will be one of intolerance and erasure of man's inhumanity to man. But here's the thing, I believe in you. You will be the ones who can make the difference for so many families. Your belief in the basic dignity of every human being, irrespective of country of origin, language, color, who you love, or where you worship. And so tonight I ask you, don't just think about it, be about it. Gracias y buenas noches.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Buenas noches, ñañas.
Buenas noches, ñaña.
Buenas noches, carnala. Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Janet. I'm from El Salvador. I have half of my life in this country. I feel part of both countries, El Salvador and the USA. The reason I left El Salvador were many: violence and fear. It's hard sometimes when you tell your own story. My brother came to this country, so I was the first. My father was a farmer, and he was work far away from home. I used to take his lunch very far away from home in the forest. When in my way to the forest, I always stopped to play because I was 8 years old. So I always stop and play with a tan or butterfly. I was slow to walk and feel like, and I feel I am the fairy. So the reason I left El Salvador were many. So violence, and I forget to tell you, I grew up with my mom was sick since I was in kindergarten. I lost her when I was 13 years old. After she passed, my brother moved to the city. And then I moved with him to work in the cheese factory. I was a cashier. In the city, I found job and a little more opportunity, but was violence and fear. So one day, I was working. In the middle of the day, a man came, and he pointed with his gun in my head. For a minute, I thought I was going to die. So I feel I don't have opportunity in my country. I don't have opportunity to live in the city, and I don't have opportunity to live in the very small village. There's very poverty, and lack opportunity to learn, to study or work. So my brother, he already here, and I tell him I want to move with him. He is my brother is my father figure. So when I tell him I want to come to this country, he say, no. It's much harder than what you thought. It's hard to get a job. It's hard to speak English. How you can live here? But I decided to come because it's better than dead in El Salvador with the violence. There's 20 years ago, there's a big gangs become very strong. And I was very, very afraid to force to marry with one of them. So that was one reason I came to this country. I came to Massachusetts in 2005, and the first night, I could sleep without fear. I could eat without fear too, and I can walk to the street and feel safe. In the USA, people in here, they're very kind. I feel like part of the family. I feel so welcome, and I feel like this country saved my life, and this land. God bless America. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot part of my story. And the best one. I came here without documents. It was very hard, but now I have my green card. Yeah. But also, I met my family. I have very loving family. I have my son, who is Sebastian. He is 12 years old. He is very good listener. He loves to play violin. And he also loves Salvadorian food. Yeah. And then I have my second one, my chispa. My chispa is my spark, because she is very smart, very fast, very spicy girl. She loves art, and she loves math, and she loves school. I'm very proud mom. So 2 years ago, when I start work in Capital District Latinos, I have 3 jobs. So I have part-time job, and then I have my second job, and clean the church. On weekends, I clean house because I think I can have a I can have my small company and give other women with small kids opportunity to work. So for 1 year, and then Capital District Latino, they offered me a full-time job, and took like for a year to think about it, to leave my other job, because I love clean the church, because it's very quiet, very peaceful, and I can do my 3 jobs with my eyes closed. Yeah. So my boss, God bless her, she's amazing. So she said, Janet, you're a crazy girl. I give you the opportunity to work full-time in here. You know how to 3 jobs. And I say, oh, but I love those people who are cleaning house because they're so sweet with me and I can share. So, but it took me a year. And now I have full-time job in Capital District Latino, and I feel like a normal person who are work normal hours and come back home to taking care of my family. And my kids have more opportunity to do, my kids have more opportunity to do another activity out the school because I can drive then. But before I was in peace cleaning the church. So I want to say thank you to Capital District Latino for giving me the opportunity to work with them and give it the opportunity to more people to share our culture and learn more words in Spanish. We share, sometimes we discuss. No, that's in El Salvador, we don't say that. So, but that's amazing. So I learn more about another country's culture. And I love to help more people who are just coming in this country and feel like when they come in Capital District Latino, I say, buenos días, and they say, oh, usted habla español. I say, claro que sí. So they feel welcome, and they feel like they can express, and they can say if they need an apple, they can ask for an apple in español. So I feel very careful to work in Capital District Latino. And I want to say thank you to all people who are come tonight to support me and more people like me. Thank you so much.
Wow, what an honor to hear Janet's story and to help her share it with you. Janet spoke about butterflies, and you're going to hear that in the chorus. And I'm going to tell you what the chorus is because it's in Spanish, and the Spanish word for butterflies is mariposas. And as Dan mentioned, they migrate, so that's a very key part of her story. It's a wonderful metaphor to work with. So the chorus goes, butterflies fly together in order to survive, and they also know when it's time to leave. And at the very end, in the double chorus, it talks about how butterflies fly far for security, and they know that they thrive in community. My feet are too tiny to journey alone. A stray dog to guide me, my sole chaperone, bringing my father his meal for the day. I lay down my burden, a moment to play. Mariposas mágicas circle around. I close my eyes, stand still and spellbound. When it grows cold and the nectar is gone, how will they know it's time to move on? Las mariposas vuelan juntas para poder sobrevivir, y las mariposas saben cuando es tiempo de partir, y las mariposas saben cuando es tiempo de partir. I lost my mother while she was alive, lost her embrace, learned to survive. My father's anger worse for the drink, danger from everywhere, life on the brink. Bullets at night, bullets by day, family splintered, caught in the fray. I've left at 20 on my own. The fear that I had was less than terror I'd known. Las mariposas vuelan juntas para poder sobrevivir. Y las mariposas saben cuando es tiempo de partir. Y las mariposas saben cuando es tiempo de partir. Now I'm held close as mother and wife. I found my path, my purpose in life, sharing with others the warmth I was shown. Together we heal, together we're home. Las mariposas vuelan juntas para poder sobrevivir. Y las mariposas saben cuando es tiempo de partir. Las mariposas vuelan lejos buscando seguridad. Y ellas también saben que prosperan en comunidad. Y ellas cuando saben que prosperan en comunidad. Thank you.
All right, now, I bet that some of you are thinking, I heard a lot. You're aware of some work that's going on in this area. Maybe you want to do something to help. So I would like each of our directors to take just a moment to give you one idea of something that you can do. Clarice, are you here? I'm in place. All right, we have a new Clarice. Come on up. What's your name?
Michelle Larkin from Rebuilding Together.
All right, Michelle Larkin, Rebuilding Together, Saratoga County.
So I think tonight's a great reminder for all of us to check in with our neighbors and friends to just make sure they're doing okay. But the practical thing for Rebuilding Together would be, our goal is warm, safe, and dry homes. But something that we use a lot of are smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. So if you wanted to do something really practical, we could collect those for us. Thank you very much.
Everybody, my name is Jason McLaughlin, Executive Director from White House, and I just want to thank you again for your attendance tonight and supporting the storytellers, the artists, and the participants. As you can see, when Gloria was telling her story, what really caught me was her bravery and all of us coming behind her to support her. I thought that was truly amazing. And as Executive Director of the White House, that's what I'm going to ask everybody in this room for tonight, is to come behind each other and support and lift them up. Let them know that there's resources in the community that can help them. My philosophy is it's always the relationships that we have that truly help people. If you know a family or a youth that is struggling, please refer them to the White House, but most importantly, lift them up. You know. Something I heard today at an event that I was at before I came here is the only time that we should be looking down at somebody is when we bend down to pick them up. So I truly appreciate being here tonight, and what an amazing gift this has been tonight. So thank you all. Thank you.
I have one request tonight. And that is, if you have a family member, a son, a daughter, a nephew, an aunt, somebody out there that is struggling with post-traumatic stress anywhere in the country, we can help them. We know what to do, we know how to do it, it's all paid for. All they have to do is call us. There's no red tape, there are no hoops to jump through. So I'm here to thank you for caring and sharing this information about Alliance 180. Thank you.
So Tri-County Literacy Center is in a very unique situation. The impact that we can have on the community is based on the number of volunteers that we have. Groups work one person, so it's a tutor team, one tutor, one learner. So for us to make an impact, what we always need is more volunteers who are willing to be part of the solution, who are willing to give of themselves. So if you're someone who gets joy from seeing somebody reach their goals, if you're willing to look for somebody's potential, then we would love to have you join our group. We're always looking for tutors, looking for individuals to work for fundraisers and work people to help us on the board to help guide the organization in the future.
Hi everyone, Gwen with the Alzheimer's Association. I have 3 brief asks for you all tonight. The first one is to educate yourself about Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Know the 10 warning signs. Know what to do if someone that you love is impacted by this disease. You can visit alz.org. Number 2 is if you know someone who is a caregiver or who is living with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, extend them your friendship, your support, your hand. You don't have to have all the answers or know what to do. Just be there for them. And number 3, we need volunteers. We're a volunteer-led organization. By sharing your story, you don't necessarily have to run a support group. There's a role for you. So please visit our table, collect my business card, reach out, and we're here for you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, so there's time and treasure, right? So whichever one you can afford, right? You have some time, we'll take that. Treasure is always good too. Sometimes treasure is a little bit better than time, but I'm not here to argue that point. I'm here to encourage your participation. On the way out, in the lobby, you will see Capital District Latinos sign. There's some information about our annual impact. And you'll also see a scan, or 2 different scans. One is for volunteering, and one is for cash money. So whichever floats your boat, thank you very much. Catch you on the other end.
For Caffe Lena, I'm going to suggest that you just remember how good it feels to be creative. Remember what it felt like when you were a little kid and you would make up songs or you would draw pictures. Don't let that part of you go to sleep. It's such an important part of being a complete human being and staying emotionally alive in your life and learning and growing and connecting with others. So we have poetry open mics, we have music open mics, we have storytelling open mics, and we have concerts galore, we have jam circles, we have all kinds of ways that you can come down and be part of a creative community and share some of your own work and reawaken that part of yourself. Thank you. I'm going to ask everybody to come out and take a bow. Anybody? Come on. All right, thank you everyone so much. We'll be back again next year. See you then.